Yo, what up? It's Roger from the Mascarella podcast. We did it first. I'm back. If you're wondering where I've been over the past few months since the last podcast episode, and for some reason you don't follow Mascarella on Twitter and Instagram and haven't been keeping up with the updates, I partnered with SoundCloud to host an official show on their channel called Link and Build, where I listen to your music every other Thursday. So I've been focused on that. I've been hanging low because of coronavirus, still not recording episodes in person, but we're back and I'm going to upload a Zoom podcast every other Thursday until we're back in this very room recording with guests in person. CMTEN actually has been on my live show on Twitch. He was on a few episodes ago, and he's here for the first Mascarella podcast episode of 2021. CM10, what's up, man?
What's up? Thanks for having me on here.
Of course. Thank you for coming. First things first, blue hair. You just dyed it. Yesterday.
I did. Impulsive, but I don't know. I think it looks fine. So I got the mullet going, you know.
Is there a mullet back there?
There is. I can't really. You can see it kind of, maybe.
It's like a little baby mullet.
Little baby one, yeah. Not like too big.
We got to grow that thing out until it's the length of this.
Yeah, that's the goal. I'm just going to take your place. I'm going to look like you.
Yeah, and then just leave it blue, and then the rest of your hair will be your natural brown, and you'll look like a real icon.
True.
But thank you for coming on, man.
Of course.
For those of the viewers who are watching who aren't familiar, you broke onto the scene last year.
Yeah.
How old are you?
I'm 19.
Wow, 19. And you are currently in Utah, is that right?
Yeah, I live in Salt Lake, near the University of Utah, because I went there, but now I dropped out, and yeah, I don't know.
So we will get into that, but last year, actually around this time, like February last year, the story is you had about 30 monthly Spotify listeners.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yep.
And you upload this song called Never Met featuring Glitch Gum. And it blows up. The song now has over 35 million streams. You signed to a record label. You might be familiar with it. It's called Mass Records, which we will get into. But let's go back to early 2020. What was life like pre-Never Met? What were you doing?
Well, I was just in school and like, I don't know, I would come back from class and like hang out with people, and then I would just like make music in my dorm basically. And like, I never really considered it as something I could do full time. So it would just be something in like my free time, let off steam, make beats and whatnot. So yeah, I don't know. I would just be in my dorm room making stuff for no one but me, essentially.
I mean, what inspired you to do that? Because it must be a weird feeling uploading music when you have 40 monthly Spotify listeners and you probably didn't have that many followers on SoundCloud, so you're essentially almost uploading it into a void. What inspired that?
I think, okay, so like I grew up singing a lot, like I was in choir in high school and stuff, and like I realized very quickly music can be like an outlet for my emotions and stuff, and so I started writing my own stuff in like 2018, producing my beats and stuff, and it became very apparent to me that no matter who was listening to it, like how many people, it was like a healthy, like therapeutic thing for me to do. So I didn't really care that no one was listening. I was like making it for me, it made me feel better. So yeah.
Huh. You mentioned that you were in choir growing up. When did that start?
So I guess the choir stuff started when I was like really young, because I was raised LDS. Basically the Mormon faith, they go by LDS now, but I was singing in that when I was little, and then all 4 years of high school I was in like a more like formal choir that would like compete and stuff. So
what does LDS stand for?
Latter-day Saints. So it's like the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. That's what it is.
So we're like kind of hopping all over the place, but you're in Utah right now. Did you grow up in Utah? Because you mentioned you grew up Mormon, and that's where a lot of Mormon people. are from?
Yeah, there are a lot of Mormons here, but I actually grew up in like the San Francisco Bay Area, so like East Bay, if anybody's watching
Huh.
from there.
East Bay, definitely. I feel like your fans might be a little bit too young, but I mean, I'm even too young for this. But they had a really famous punk scene in like the
Yeah,
80s, right? What was it
I think
like?
so. Don't know much about that, but
I think Gilman Street. Is that like where Green Day's from?
no idea. But I do think they're from the East Bay.
Yeah. So you grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, Mormon.
Yeah.
What was that like?
I mean, it was all right. Like, no complaints with it. I don't know. My family's pretty cool, and like we just go to church on Sundays, and I would sing in it, and yeah, I don't know. It just wasn't for me. Like once I got out of the house, like the religion itself, but respect to it and anybody in it.
Did you grow up with a bunch of siblings or?
Yeah. So I'm actually a triplet. I have I have a brother and a sister who are my triplet siblings, and I have two older brothers.
Are you identical triplets or
No,
so
very
you're
much
a
not.
triplet and you have two older siblings?
Yeah.
So growing up Mormon, you're one of five. What did your parents do to support this big Mormon family?
I don't know. I mean, my mom is like stay-at-home mom, and then my dad does some finance things. Sorry, Dad, if you're watching this, I don't really know what your job is exactly. He'd be doing something with like money. I don't know.
Something to
Something.
support triplets. Well, I mean, of course, there's three triplets.
Yeah.
Something to support triplets and then two more kids. So you're growing up in choir, uh, in the Mormon church. What was high
Yep.
school like for you? Were you just friends with like a bunch of kids from church, or did you have other friend groups? Did you play sports? Like, what was that all like?
Yeah, so I kind of bounced all over the place in high school. So I had like the friends from church that weren't really in the church anymore. We all kind of bonded over that because we're like, I don't know,
Mm.
like we don't want to be in the religion. And then I had the actual friends from church that were nice enough, but like I wasn't super close with them. And yeah, I don't know. I just kind of hung out with a lot of different like random people in high school. Like I had like a little friend group, but like I'd just be kind of like bouncing all around.
So, what motivated you to want to go to school in Utah? Was it because you had friends who you worked with who were going there because they were Mormon, or how'd you end up there?
So I don't really know anybody from my school that came here. Actually, one person that I'm friends with from high school is here. But I came actually because I was in a business program here and I got a scholarship for it, and it was like pretty decent.
Damn.
And so the University of Utah Business Scholars is what drew me out here.
Wow. Businessman. So, I'm
Business guy.
guessing you're, a scholarship, like you did pretty good in high school.
I did all right. I mean, my grades weren't like the best because I have ADHD and
Hmm.
bad grades, but like I was a decent test taker and I did pretty well on like the ACT, so that's what got me my scholarship.
What was your ACT score? Let's put it out on the internet.
32.
Out of 36, right?
Yeah,
Holy shit. Congratulations, dude. That's like
thank
genius
you.
level.
I don't know if it's that, but I don't know. It was decent.
I have no recollection of what my ACT score was, but I know it wasn't great.
Fair. Yeah, man, I should have studied for it though because like English section, reading section, math, perfectly fine. And then like the science section, I got like a 17 on or something like that, and it brought my
Mm,
score down. But if I had not gotten a 17 on the science section, imagine where I could be.
Harvard Business School
True, true. So
making hyper pop with Mark Zuckerberg.
everybody study for the ACT, please, so you don't fuck up the science section. Worst
Do
mistake
they
of my
even
life.
still? I like feel like I always read articles about how like you don't have to take the SATs anymore. The ACT is like, is
Oh,
that
do
the
you
thing? I
not?
just in my brain. I don't know. I think the
That's
SATs like
probably
aren't
true.
required by colleges anymore.
Yeah, no, I feel like they'd probably be changing something up with that because I had to do a whole project about how it's like not a fair assessment at all because like people come from different backgrounds and like
Exactly.
rich people
Yes,
can study for it and get
that
a
was
better
the
score.
thing.
Yeah,
That
so it's
was the
probably
thing.
that.
There were these kids in my fucking high school who had private tutors since middle school and they got like perfect scores. And it's like, yeah, well, duh. Like
Because
that's
you were
those
studying since like
resources
seventh
aren't
grade.
available to fucking everyone.
Yeah,
So anyway, you just last year you enroll in college in Utah.
yeah.
You fire up that SoundCloud account. You fire up that Spotify account. How did Never Met happen?
Okay, so I guess story time here.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I was listening to a lot of different stuff in like 2019, a lot of stuff on SoundCloud, and obviously I found 100 Gecs like right after their EP came out, and I was like, I'd kind of been making music like adjacent to that already, but it was really cool to see someone outside of like a small account on SoundCloud doing that, and I was
Mm-hmm.
like, that's pretty cool, and so I started to like kind of make more stuff like that because I was making more like the bedroom pop style before it combined with like the more like hyper pop stuff. And so like late 2019, I was like headed more towards that. Early 2020, I was making like I don't know like glitchy beats and stuff. And I think in February or March, Fraxium they posted on their story because they were reposting people that posted about like Thos Moser, if you know that song, great fucking song. Uh, and Glitchgum had posted about Thos Moser on his story, and I was like, oh, like cool. And so I like clicked the account. I found his song Piano Teacher, and I was like, dang, this is pretty
Mm.
good for having like 30 followers or whatever he had at the time. And so I DM'd him. I'm like, I have this song I'm working on. Do you want to do a verse on it? And he said, sure. I've never done that before, but like, okay. And I was like, all right. And so I sent it to him, and then he sent me back his verse, and I did whatever I did to it, and then we made the little video for it, and I dropped the song.
When you made Never Met, was the network of artist friends that you had online? Because hyperpop wasn't really like 100 Gecs were popular the year before, but I don't know were
Yeah.
people even calling that hyperpop yet. Like it didn't exist the way it does today. What was that network like in
So
January 2020?
non-existent. I know a lot of people have been like involved online for a while, like they're in like Discord and stuff, and like that's super cool. But I was never a part of that at all. And I was in school with my friends there, and I knew no one online. Like the first person I really met, first artist I really met was Riley the musician in like February of 2020, and then Glitchgum after that, and like history, I don't know. But like those were the first two people I interacted with online that made music.
Wow. And when did you become aware of, oh, there's other artists who are making similar sounding music to me and they're also doing well? Like, when did that happen?
I'm trying to think because I feel like I was listening to stuff made by like hyperpop artists on SoundCloud before I knew anybody. Like I honestly could not tell you what I was listening to exactly, but like stuff on SoundCloud I'd find, and I'm like, this is pretty cool. Um, but I don't think it was until the song like blew up that I actually like interacted with people, and I was like, oh, other people are doing this and they're like succeeding with it.
And who are some of those artists that you became friends with that you really like their music? Is there a group now that you look towards and like, oh, I love this music and we're friends and we talk on Instagram or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think because I have a lot of like acquaintances or whatever. Like, there's a lot of people that I don't like call with or whatever, but like
Hmm.
follow each other and like DM or whatever. But like, shout out Finlands. I love Finlands. We FaceTime like every other day. Shout out Frax, uh, Umru, Lucas Lex. Trying to think of more. Scruff Puppy, Carpet Garden. Just there's a lot of people. Like, I wish I'd like prepared something here because I feel like I'm gonna forget someone. But XIX, obviously. But like, yeah, there's just so many like talented people that I've met, and it's just cool to see them like be so nice to me, especially as I came into the scene from like an outsider perspective.
When you made the song, did you think, oh, this is just another song I'm going to upload to my SoundCloud that's going to get 100 plays? Or were you like, this is the one?
I thought it was in between the 100 plays and like big, because I played it for my family, and they're like, this one's not horrible, like this one's like fine. And so like, I was like sitting there, and like my siblings were like, yeah, like this could get like maybe like 2,000 plays or something. I'm like, yeah, like okay, maybe.
So, so that's very interesting. You talk about your religion almost sort of in the past tense. It seems like you're
Yeah,
not an active member of the church.
no,
So you have blue hair. You're making glitchy music. I think at the time you had green hair, if I
yeah,
remember correctly from your Instagram. So when you play that song for your family prior to releasing it, I think someone from the outside looking in might be like, oh, this is a Mormon family. They might be a little bit more conservative, but
Yeah,
they were very supportive of your music.
100%. Yeah, I think they saw it as like a emotional and like artistic outlet, and it was like my own thing. And I think that was helpful in like me seeing them as people and not just my parents, and them seeing me as a person, not just like their kid. Because they're like, he's doing his own thing. It's cool. Doesn't really matter if it like takes off because he's doing school, which is what they were saying at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and they're like, yeah, it's like basically do what you want. And so I'm really grateful for that and my parents' support with that.
When you see your parents as humans for the first time and not mom or dad, I feel like that's a moment that most people never forget. Like, I know exactly where I
It's
was
so weird.
when I looked at my mom. I was like, oh, this is a human being who
Yeah.
is her own person. She's not just my mom. Like, I remember where we were. I won't get into it. It's long of a story. It was actually like a sweet moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really cool though that you got to experience that with your family. So you upload the song. How long did it take before you realize, wait, something's up here? Like these plays are going up.
So I think I uploaded the song on April 1st or something like that. And kind of sad situation here, but if it hadn't have happened, the song wouldn't have blown up. My grandpa passed away from COVID in March of 2020. And
Whoa.
so we did a very small funeral with like just basically our like immediate family, like under my grandpa, so like my cousins, like aunts and uncles and stuff. And while we were there, I don't know, everybody's like depressed because my grandpa died. And we're in the basement of our family's house in Midway, Utah. And I'm like, let's make TikToks because we don't want to feel pain. And I had that song done. It had been out for a couple days. And me and my cousin and my brothers, Travis and Seth, we made a video to it of me just like running around, us playing like video games. And I was like, I wish we never met, like whatever. And I posted it on TikTok and I was like, this is my song, like whatever. I wasn't trying to promote it or anything. I was trying to make it just a video to it, like for fun.
Right.
And then that video started to go up a little bit. So it got like a couple thousand likes or something like that. And I'm like, that doesn't really mean anything. People like the video, maybe not using the sound. And then smaller creators started using the sound. Um, and I got Iguana Alana to use the sound. And I think them using that helped it go up because, like, I don't know, they're instrumental in like a lot of that music getting up, like Pressure when that went up and like Kiss Me and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. I think it's all because of them. So yeah, that's kind of how it happened.
How many followers did you have on TikTok at the time?
I think like a couple hundred because I'd post like funny videos sometimes, like nothing like crazy, but like I posted a video about Animal Crossing like when it first came out or something like that, and that got a bunch of likes and I got like followers from that. So maybe that helped me out, but it wasn't like a big amount or anything. I don't know.
Because, fun fact, a little tidbit, I did my research. I searched out, I found your Reddit account. I found out that the song you reference in Never Met, where the line is like, whatever the line is about, like wasting your money on a trivial video game, you're
Yeah,
talking about Animal Crossing.
I am indeed. I
That's deep
am.
research. That's some Nardwar shit right there, bro. I
Yeah,
really went.
bro, I had like $100 or something, and I bought Animal Crossing for like $60, and it was fun for a second, because I grew
Yeah.
up playing Animal Crossing a lot, like Wild World and stuff on my DS.
Hmm.
But I had it for a little bit, and I was like, fuck, like I am getting bored. And then I was writing a song, and I was like, whatever, blow my money
It,
on it.
like Animal Crossing was definitely the first 2 months of my quarantine.
Yeah,
And it was like I was addicted. I was chopping the wood. I was doing all my chores. But then, yeah, like once you like hack the game with the fucking tarantula hunting or whatever it was, where like you got a bunch of money and you get the most expensive house, it's like, all right,
do
this
you
is
remember when they
really
patched that?
boring.
They had it for a little bit, and then they
Worst
fixed
moment
it.
of my life.
So sad. I remember I
I
went in to
don't
do
get
it.
that.
I know. I
It
don't
was
either.
the most fun. It was like sincerely some of the most fun times of
Yeah.
that whole past year was like staying up late, me and my girlfriend, fucking tarantula hunting, clearing out islands. We were FaceTiming our
Of
friends who were
course, of
also doing it.
course.
It was addicting. And they
Yeah.
patched it. I'm like, why would you patch it you have YouTubers making videos with millions of plays. Everyone's talking about it on Twitter. It's trending. Like, why would you take this away?
So
Fucking,
fucked up.
fucking Animal Crossing, fucking Nintendo. Oh man, the worst.
Dislike.
Trivial video game.
Indeed.
But so it starts to go viral on TikTok. You're in your dorm room or your apartment in Utah. You have no manager, no record label, no connections to anything. And at what point did you realize, like, oh, wait, this is serious? Like, it's getting millions of plays. Like, how long did that take? Did it take like a month or did it take a couple weeks?
Funny story here. Okay, so it had its first wave on TikTok. It got like 1,000 videos made to it, and then it was kind of stagnant. And I'm like, that's cool. Like it probably had like 40,000 streams on Spotify or something like that. And then I think it got to like 100,000, and I went with my family to Lake Powell in like July, and we had no service there. We were on a boat like with just my family, and I came back from that trip. It was like July 7th or something like that. And as soon as we got service, my cousin pulls up her phone. She's like, Lil Huddy made a
Oh
video to
my
your song.
God.
And I'm like, oh no. And like a bunch of people had, and I had a bunch of texts from my friends being like, I see your sound everywhere. And the song
Wow.
had gone up like several 100,000 plays in the time I was gone. And that's when I started getting like labels reaching out and stuff like that. But yeah, that's when it hit its second wave, and it was just funny because the entire time it was happening, I had no service or any idea what was going on.
And that's, I assume, when I also hit you up.
Yeah, no, I think so.
So, so it was around this time that I came across the song. It was right when Hyperpop was coming into my view. I think maybe I just had Quinn on the podcast, or I had them on maybe a little bit after. I just found XIX. I was already deep in conversation with XIX about them signing to Mass Records / Warner Records, and I came across your song. I was like, oh my God, this is the one. It's so good. Uh, so we ended up, I hit you up on Instagram. I feel like you were on that trip or something. You were like hiking and you didn't have service and you were like, bro, everyone's hitting me up. I was like, I bet. And then we ended up Zooming
Yeah,
with Nate and Sean from Warner and your parents. So I Zoomed with you and your parents in your
yeah,
house and we talked for like an hour.
we did. What a great time.
And there were a bunch of other labels interested. Thankfully, you chose Mass Records, Warner Records.
Good
So
choice.
what
Good
was
choice on
that?
my part.
Yeah, so like, what was that process like for you going from I'm just a college kid making fun TikToks, and then it's like, oh wait, everyone's reaching out, and I have managers reaching out and labels. Was it overwhelming? Was it cool?
Yeah. Okay. It was a balance of those two because I would be sitting in my room and I'm like, what is going on? Like, this is insane. This is not real life. And then I would like snap back and I'd be like, this is so cool that I'm having these opportunities, you know? And
Mm-hmm.
so it was just like back and forth between me like wanting to like curl up in a ball and cry about it, like have a violent anxiety attack, um, and being like, I love life, like this is so cool. So yeah, pretty much like those two.
Just complete polars, just fucking fighting it
Yeah.
out.
I would
Uh,
like come out of my room in the morning and I'd be like, guys, like what do I do? Like, should I sign? Like I had no idea what to do at all.
was
So
there, yeah, so what went into that choice? Was there like a decision of, I'm just going to stay independent? Like, why did you choose to sign to a major label?
only reason I signed is because I'm under Mass Records because I know I can still do what I want. And I mean, not within reason, like you'll tell me if it's bad, but like I don't have to make generic pop music. I don't have to replicate Never Met 700 times. And I feel like that's what a lot of the labels like kind of wanted from me. Like no disrespect to anybody, but like I feel like some of the other like if I was signed like directly to a major, it might be more like, oh, like make this type of music. You have to go with this producer. You have to go with this writer. And with you and like what you were talking about to me on the call, it became apparent that like I could do what I was doing before and just have more support behind me. So
I did not pay CM10 to say this. Thank you so much. This is turning into a very self-indulgent podcast for me. But yeah, I mean, for everyone listening, that pretty much was the conversation. And it is almost a cliche because every label is going to tell you, oh, you can have all the creative control and this and that. However, it's not always the case. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. The way my situation is with Warner, it's a joint venture. I have full control of my label and my roster. Uh, so I can make those executive choices. And literally, uh, for everyone listening, Cole will FaceTime me. CM10 will uh, FaceTime me. He'll say, I want to do X, Y, and Z. I will give some advice, and I'll say, great, I'm going to make it happen. And that's pretty much how this works. I'm
Yep.
not telling him what to do or what kind of music to make or who to work with. If he wants to put up a random song on SoundCloud at midnight, he can do it. I don't give a shit. He can do whatever he wants. We are working on bigger, picture goals at the same time, but complete freedom. So thank you, man. Thank you
Of
so much.
course.
100 Gecs remix Never Met.
Yeah.
And at the time, that was the first song they officially remixed that wasn't theirs. They've had other people remix their songs,
Yeah.
but they remixed your song. It was the first time. I think since then they've remixed a Linkin Park song, and there's a few other things maybe that I don't know if it's public yet. But what was that like? Because Laura Les spit a verse.
Yeah. No, that was so cool. Especially because, like, I don't know, obviously she's referenced in the song and, like, I have that inspiration. And it was a cool, like, full circle moment. And also, a year to the day before the release of the remix was the day that 100 Gex and Brockhampton were performing in Salt Lake. And I couldn't go because I was in the hospital. And so I gave my friend my ticket and I was like, fuck, like I wanted to see 100 Gex. And then a year later to the day, I dropped a remix with them. So,
Literally the same day.
yeah.
Holy shit. See, man, that's why, sometimes you gotta think the stars might have aligned. There might be this thing called fate out there,
Yeah.
like there might be powers greater than us because that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's
No, I
insane.
was like, my friend pointed it out to me and I was like, what? Like, there's no way. But
I remember sending you the remix for the first time because for whatever reason it came into my email first.
yeah.
What was your reaction to the first time hearing it?
Me and my roommate were on the couch. And I was like, fuck. And I came in here and like plugged it into my speakers. We're listening to it. And we were just like standing there, like, no way. And at the time, too, the ending was different than it ended up on being on the.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
when that ending came, when we listened to it the first time, we were like looking at each other, we're like, what the fuck? Like, how? But I'm kind of sad that didn't get in there. But like,
Yeah, I don't know why. I forget what the reason, but maybe one day it will be released as a special edition. The ending was just like 5 seconds of chaos.
it was
Uh,
awesome.
and here's why you chose the right label is because yeah, first I'm great, sure, but the Warner side, the chairman of the company, your A&R from the Warner side, Nate, they heard this crazy fucked up song and they were like, we love this. And I don't
Yeah,
know if that would happen at any other label.
exactly.
What was life like? Because also you signed a great deal. It was very fair. I'm not going to say the number, but you got a good amount of money. What was that like going from a broke kid who only had $100 to buy Animal Crossing to like, oh, I got real money now?
Weird. It was very weird. I'd be like sitting there and just like look at my phone. I'm like, I can buy a hamburger today. I can go to Taco Bell today if I want to. And there's no stress. Like, I don't know. It's not like I'm like rolling in money, but like I can basically do stuff without having to worry about like, oh, I'm gonna be negative in my account and have my dad text me, don't overdraft your account again, you idiot.
What were some of the first things that you bought after you signed?
I bought a camera. I bought this. It's actually sitting right here because I just like keep it on my desk. But I was like, I really want to do video stuff, so I bought this like black magic camera.
Wow.
Because I was like, I've always wanted to have one. Because I used to be super into photography. I did like uh weddings and seniors and like families and stuff, but I never had like the
Wow.
funds to get like a nicer thing like that. So I was like, it's time for me to get the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera. And
Is
then
that the most expensive item that you've purchased thus far?
no, it was my laptop right here.
Right. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. But other than that, yeah.
Me and you actually got this is such a self-indulgent podcast. Me and you actually got matching electric drum sets.
Yeah, we do. The Nitro, the Alesis Nitro.
It's so affordable for anyone listening. It's literally like the cheapest drum set, so don't think that we're crazy over
Yeah,
here.
no, it's
Uh,
not bad.
but it's so fun. So you signed to a major label. Never Met is still going crazy. It currently has over 35 million streams. And to put that into perspective, not only is it the most streamed hyperpop, it's not only is it the most streamed hyperpop song of the last few years, it almost has more streams than any of the 100 Gecs songs have on Spotify either. It will like eventually eclipse it. Um, Looking back on the last year, like how do you put this all into perspective and stay grounded?
I don't know. I guess one thing that I have to remind myself is to keep doing what I was doing before and keep the same
Mm-hmm.
reasons behind what I'm making. Because I feel like it could be easy to get into the trap of like, I'm signed now, make music people will like. Because I
Right.
do that a little bit. Like, I do stuff, I'm like, oh, people like this part, whatever. But I have to remind myself the reason that the song blew up or whatever and like people enjoy my other music is because I'm doing what I want with it and I'm doing like the weird stuff I do with my songs, and I just have to remind myself not to get too generic, you know? And I don't know. It's kind of an internal battle because I'm like, what should I make now? Like, do I make something like super fucked up that will get no streams? And
Right.
I don't know. So basically, it's telling myself, do what you want still. It doesn't really matter. And yeah, I don't know if that makes sense at all.
Your fans will hear, like, I've been privileged enough to hear a lot of your music that's not released, but your fans will hear it soon. I mean, you're going to be a superstar because you make really palatable, like, I don't know, like whatever you want to call it, like alt, anti pop, whatever. And it's not just like, oh, I have this one song that's good. It's like, no, you're fucking great, man.
Thank
And
you.
to be able to do both is so rare. And you're fucking doing it right now.
I appreciate that. Hyping me
So,
up.
yeah. So you actually, this podcast, we're filming it on a Wednesday. It's dropping tomorrow on a Thursday. And you have a song coming up the following day on Friday, right?
Well, I guess it will be out Thursday night 'cause it drops
Right.
at the midnight, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So, what song is that?
it's called Bored. It's a little different than the stuff I've done before, but I think that people will like it. I hope that people like it. If they don't, I don't really care. Uh, but I think it's a good song, and I think it shows some like versatility with what I'm trying to do. Because, like I said, it's just like different.
I think this is exactly what I was just saying. It's like a step in that direction of,
Yeah,
you're so much more than just that one song. You're working on the EP. It'll come out over the next few months. It hasn't been announced yet, so that's a little secret. So you're still in Utah. This is your first semester where you're not taking any classes. What's the
yeah.
plan? Are you staying in Utah? Are you gonna move to Los Angeles? And like, what's the goal here?
I'm gonna say I'm not moving to Los Angeles. I'm sorry to everybody that wants me to. I cannot. Every time I go, I am overstimulated the entire time, and it's basically a hellscape. Other than the people I interact with that I like that's fun. But like, I feel like there's no downtime there, and like that's something I need because I don't know. I get overstimulated very easily,
Mhm.
and Utah's perfect for me because it's like a beautiful place where I live. I have like my friends here who like I can hang out with, but I can also be by myself in my room making music. And I feel like, from what I've seen, LA is just not like that. But I'm like an hour flight away. It's easy to
Right.
get to, so if I need to, I can. But I don't know. I feel like the goal here for me is like get a house here, have a studio in it, and go to LA when I need to.
I'll say this. Another classic label thing is like you got to move to LA. You have to move to New York. You can't be. It's like you stay where you're comfortable, man.
Yeah,
I'm not going to force you to do anything. Two, with that being said, there are pockets of LA that are super mellow. Like LA isn't just Hollywood. There's cool mellow
Yeah.
suburbs like one I live in. I'm not going to dox myself. Where my Mass Records office is, that's super mellow. It's a great community. It's very slow paced.
Yeah.
There's like one lane traffic on the main road, and then Hollywood's 15 minutes away or 20 minutes away or whatever it is with the traffic. So
True.
maybe one day, but
Maybe someday.
you are doing great as of now. You're at the very start of your career. However, you've experienced a good amount of success. Do you have any advice for a kid out there listening to this podcast who has 30 monthly Spotify listeners and they're like, man, I wish I could be like blowing up and this and that? Like, what should they be doing out there?
Yes. Okay. Here's the thing. Keep making what you want and don't try to force it upon people because I feel like that's like something that you try to do. Sometimes you want to do, you're like, oh, like, please listen to my stuff. And while that can be a strategy, what I did when I was like kind of developing my sound, I'd make stuff, I'd show my close friends, I'd show my siblings and stuff. Basically, whoever you're comfortable with hearing your stuff, like your like raw music, show it to them, get criticism from them, develop your sound yourself, like watch YouTube videos, go online and Discord with your friends, whatever, and start doing that until you feel like comfortable with what you're doing. You feel like you've grown enough, and I feel like you'll naturally see success that way.
I love that advice. That's the thing is don't chase a trend because the people in any field, let alone music, that see success are doing their own thing and then that turns
Yeah,
into a trend. Chasing a trend, someone's already achieved success in that manner and maybe you can kind of ride the wave, but you're never going to be on the front of the wave and you're never going to get the full brunt of the wave.
yeah,
So just do your own thing. And as long as you're doing your own thing, you're happy. And if you get success, great. But if not, at least you can look back and say, I was making what I wanted to make anyway.
true. And I feel like one thing with that too is like, obviously don't ride like waves like that, but take influence from them. The parts that you
Mm-hmm.
like incorporate into your music, and don't try to be a carbon copy of something, but instead like I listen to so much different music, and I feel like everything I make is just like all that combined. Try to just like narrow down your influences a little bit, take the parts you like from each thing, and develop your own sound from that.
That's exactly what you did, and it's very nuanced. I'm sure a casual listener would say, "Oh, CM10 just sounds like 100 Gecs," but that's not the case. There's
Yeah,
multiple influences in there, and that's why I caught on because it
exactly.
was a slightly fresh take. You didn't reinvent the wheel, but you didn't just completely ride the wave, and that's why it worked.
One
CM10,
oh shit,
no,
sorry.
yes, go,
No, one
go,
thing
go.
too. I was when I was in LA, we were talking about how like the lyrics have never meant like the melody. It could be like an acoustic guitar song, you know? Like
Hmm.
it isn't like I have these like I don't know. Like we were like playing on guitar and like harmonizing with each other. I'm like, I could have done this too. So like I feel like that's kind of like evidence of like the different aspects that went into it. Like I was making a different type of song and then it happens to have a beat that sounds all like that on it.
You have the EP coming out over the next few months. Um, what else is planned? What do you want to accomplish in the year 2021?
I don't know. I feel like primarily I want to establish myself as someone that's versatile, like sonically. Because a lot of the stuff I'm making, you'll see in the EP, every song sounds completely different.
Hmm.
And I feel like that is like what I want everybody to see for that year is that I am always going to make stuff that does not sound the same. Everything's going to be like fucked up and weird and so many different influences in it. And yeah, I just want to establish myself as someone that can do multiple things, especially to the people that have only heard Never Met. And they're like, oh, he's going to make more music like this. Like if one of
Right.
those songs from the EP gets popular and then people start connecting the dots, like, oh, it's the same artist. Like that would be super cool for me. So like that's the goal. Fingers crossed.
And hopefully 2021, maybe fall, there will finally be some shows and you can hit the road.
Yeah, if not fall 2022, because I'm very, very,
Definitely.
very excited to tour. Like I would love to perform live.
It's probably realistically 2022, but who knows? CM10, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Everyone
Thank
listening,
you.
thank you so much. Remember, follow Mascarilla on Twitter and Instagram. That's where I update constantly about what's going on for the podcast, anything else in my world. And I'm going to upload an episode every other Thursday. Let's see how long that lasts.